officially ruled Charlotte Williams' death as suicide as of late last night.
And no one's paying attention.
Some people saying my papa did. Some people even saying I did.
You need to open your eyes and see that is the truth. Ignore what the federal government tells you.
Your tears today, we escape.
Coming at you live, I am here to report that teenager Charlotte Williams of Sarabelle County, Indiana, has been reported missing early this Thursday morning after not coming home the night before. Police responded immediately and have been working on the case ever since. We will update you once more information is released.
Charlotte. I mean, what to say about Charlotte? She was perfect. She was such a good girl. Everyone loved her. She was happy. I mean, sure, she was like a normal teenager and had some sad times, but I just don't understand how this could have happened.
It wasn't suicide.
No, definitely not.
Something else happened.
Just doesn't make sense. None of it. Why would she be where she was?
Charlotte and I have been friends for 3 years now. We met in science class. She was always telling jokes, and then we became partners. And we've just grown closer since then. Gone on family vacations together. And there was this one time where she was out in the storm just dancing around. She was always doing stuff like that. She was just a really fun-loving person.
I remember.
Friends.
Oh, man.
Friends were her hobby. She loved spending time with her friends. Tennis. Lots of friends on her tennis team.
Remember her TikTok phase? So many dances during COVID. She was so good at TikTok. Like, really good at it.
She loved playing tennis and just spending time with her friends. We would all hang out every weekend, all the time that we could. And we would hang out after school on days that we didn't have homework. I remember during quarantine when we weren't allowed to see each other, we would come over to her house and we would go and we would walk on the trail behind our house. And we weren't allowed to get within 6 feet, so we would walk on the opposite side and we would have to basically yell to be able to hear each other. And every time we would touch each other, we would have to touch each other with Clorox wipes. And she thought it was the funniest thing ever. She was just always laughing.
The body of 16-year-old Charlotte Williams was found in a field outside of town early this Monday morning. The property owner's teenage daughter stumbled upon her in the early hours, where she reports she was clearing her brain before school. Breaking news! After forensic inspection, the cause of death has officially been ruled a gunshot to the head. However, further details have yet to be released. The conclusion for young Charlotte has finally arrived, as police have officially ruled Charlotte Williams' death as suicide as of late last night. Her family has yet to release a press statement, but there does seem to be some pushback from friends and family concerning the ruling and closing of the case.
She would
No.
never shoot herself.
She's way too lazy to shoot herself.
Yes.
That's why we're hiring
Princess.
a private investigator. He's going to get to the bottom of this.
Or she.
When Charlotte's parents first contacted me, I immediately became intrigued by the case. Things just weren't adding up. And I knew there's something bigger at play here. Plus, as a young private investigator myself, I thought I could bring a fresh perspective. And, in a way, Charlotte kind of reminds me of my own sister. I felt a connection to this case, and I knew I had to give it my all.
Well, I was just going out for a little walk about a mile or so from my house, on my property, of course. And that's when I saw something in the distance. I thought maybe it was a deer or something I could take home to my papa. He does love making deer meat after all. That's when I saw it wasn't no deer. It was a dead body. So I walked up to this young girl. It was a young girl, and I went to check her pulse. She looked pretty dead to me, but can't never be too sure. I went and checked her pulse, and she was as cold as ice, 100% dead. I ain't never seen anything more dead in my life. It was a horrible sight. Her hair was all wrapped around her neck, covered in blood.
See, what I find suspicious about the car is that it just doesn't make sense. Let me elaborate. If what the police are saying is true, then Charlotte would have driven out to the country, pulled over onto the side of the road, parked her car, then proceeded to walk 2 miles and probably shoot herself. However, if that's the case, why would she bother to lock the car in the first place? And furthermore, why would she put the parking brake on? It just doesn't line up.
Funny thing is, the rest of the area was pretty peaceful, completely undisturbed, like nobody had been there.
Another aspect of this case that raises concerns is the gun. Now, while it has been confirmed that the bullet did come from the M590 shotgun found at the scene of the crime, there's still a multitude of questions that simply don't line up. First of all, Charlotte's family has no record of ever owning a gun, and there's no record of her buying one either.
Yeah, no, Charlotte wouldn't have a gun. She hated guns.
Now, she could have acquired it illegally. However, that still doesn't answer all the questions. Furthermore, there was absolutely no gunpowder residue found anywhere on Charlotte. This just isn't logistically possible, especially considering that the police had stated she had shot herself. If she had done that, it would have been all over her arm, probably over the rest of her clothes too, possibly even on the ground. However, nothing. It was suspiciously clean. The only way for this to have happened was if the gun had been shot elsewhere. Not only did it need to have been shot elsewhere, but Charlotte herself could not have shot that gun. It doesn't line up. The facts have shown Charlotte did not kill herself.
And now that I think about it, I do remember there was a gun, a big old gun laying right by her, just sitting there all peaceful like someone dropped it. My daddy told me he'd never take another man's gun, so I left it right where it was, otherwise I would have taken it back home and added my stash.
For one, no gun cartridge was found. This just doesn't make sense. It wasn't found by the body, and the police even scoured the entire property. If it had been there, they would have found it.
Yeah, and her friends, she obsessed over her friends. She had to know what was going on. If somebody said something about someone at school, she was right on that phone and she got to the bottom of it. Got to the bottom of everything.
Yeah.
But recently, she hasn't been wanting to do any of those things. She's been focused on this Delilah Brown case that happened the town over. It was really weird. She was like obsessed with it. She would just ask to go to the spot, and she would go look for hints in the dark. And she just stopped acting like herself. She was obsessed with this case.
My name is Sharon, and I've been investigating the Delilah Brown case for years. As I've investigated this case, things just keep on getting stranger and stranger. Delilah Brown came from the wealthiest family in town. She was loved. She was the golden child of the town. She was smart, kind. Everyone liked her. Everyone anyone knew who she was. She would get dropped off by the school bus and walk down the gravel road to her family home. However, one day, she never came home. And that's where it starts getting strange. She was never found for 4 days. 4 days, the police had no leads, no suspects, couldn't find a single trace of her. But then, this is where it gets really strange. Her shoes, only her shoes, no backpack, no nothing, no hair, were found in a field 8 miles from her school bus stop. Now, an 8-year-old girl can't walk 8 miles. She can't. That means an alien spacecraft had to come down and pick that little girl up and send them off to homeworld somewhere. That's why the police found no suspects, no trace, no fingerprints on any leads or anything. The aliens erased all the evidence, so she can never be found. The federal government is covering up aliens, and you need to open your eyes and see that is the truth. Ignore what the federal government tells you. The truth is, aliens exist. They're taking innocent human test subjects to test their human killing weapons on.
Now, I know what the police said, but I just don't believe it. Charlotte wouldn't do something like that. She's not that kind of person. They had something to do with this. They covered it up, and it had something to do with the case she was obsessed with. I just know it.
She was a very passionate girl. Sometimes she'd get a little headstrong on things if she decided she really wanted to go down that path.
No girl does that to themselves. She must have found something that the federal government and the aliens wanted to cover up. She was another innocent victim of those aliens and federal government. She found something about that case, the Lila Brown case, that they did not like. So they took her out.
Now, after extensive research and investigation, I can confidently say Charlotte did not kill herself. She was murdered. I can't attest as to whether the police were directly involved or if they were simply insufficient in their investigation. But they need to be investigated for negligence either way.
It has been a little hard with all the media going to school. Everybody's saying I got dead people on my property. They ain't know anything. Some people saying my papa did it. Some people even saying I did it. We ain't done nothing. We're a peaceful family farm, and we ain't got nothing to do with this. Just because it happened on our land don't mean it's our fault.
Everything's been different since she's been gone. All of our friends, it's just been really hard. We just don't know how we're ever going to move on. I mean, some of us have been friends since we were born. I mean, I just don't know how we're going to recover.
We need answers. We need closure.
Yeah, we just miss her.
And no one's paying attention.
The police are doing nothing. Nothing.
They just think it's a suicide. There's just no way.
Such an easy answer for them, and there's just no way.
No, we're taking this into our own hands. We have to get answers.
All I know is that I'm going to continue investigating this case, and I am going to find justice for Charlotte and her family. They deserve it.
Don't lose your nerve.